After cashing the checks, money orders, and such, I returned to the office to get down to business. We've made quite a profit selling gas masks and protective gear. Business is good. But after putting part of our money in the safe and in the cash box, I took over the stack of orders. There are two orders in what I call the exempt pile. One order including an explanatory message that saying customers thought it might be prudent to get a mask because there had been a couple of disasters near where she lived. I can sympathize. The other is from a guy saying he didn't care about any special features. He just wanted a cool mask to wear to an upcoming party. It's fine by me. It even strikes me as a little amusing for some reason. I take care of those orders first, carefully packaging the masks and making sure to set them apart from the others. After that's done, I tally the number of orders in the other stack, what I call the special stack. Once I'm sure of how many masks I'll need to prepare, I fetch the required number and bring them into the back room to begin the process. Safety is, of course, the primary thing. First, I inspect my gloves and apron. Finding no flaws, I put them on. Then I don my best gas mask and make sure it's working as it should. With everything in order, I take one of the masks from its containers, grab one of the jars off the shelf, and get to work. I pride myself on the thoroughness with which I work. By the time I'm done working on the masks, it's like a poison is bonded to the rubber plastic filters at the molecular level. Most customers wear the mask at least once. After all, the first thing most people do when they get a mask is try it on to make sure it fits perfectly. When they do, they inhale the poison with every breath, and every inch of the skin comes in contact with the rest of the mask, which absorbs poison through the sweat glands. Even if the customer doesn't wear the mask, he or she just keeps it in storage of the house, the poison can still take effect. This poison is very strong, and I take the liberty of poking tiny, nearly imperceptible holes in the bag I place in the mask in between wrapping and packaging them. Poisonous fumes escape the bag and seep into the house, so chances are good the customer will still be poisoned to some extent. If the customer had ordered a complete hazmat suit, I hedge my bets by contaminating that too. Once the customer has sufficient amounts of the poison in their system, they begin to succumb to paranoia and death, some suffering cardiac arrest and others suffering respiratory failure. Others are driven to commit murder-suicide due to paranoia. It's easy for me to find obituaries, police blotters, news articles, so it's simple to find the fates of the majority of my customers. There was a report from a nearby town of a man who went insane and shot his family members to death before taking a fatal dose of pills and booze. There was also an incident in another city of a woman who was shot to death by the police after she took a gun, wandered through the streets raving and making violent threats. A case of unintentional suicide by a cop. I checked my customers' list against the police blotters in the news report. Sure enough, they were both on the special order pile. Sometimes I can tell beforehand that the poison is doing its work. For instance, there was one time a customer a couple weeks ago, after receiving his mask, requested 5 more, making all sorts of claims about why he needed them. I could tell from the bizarre claims he made that he was deep in the paranoia stage. I told him not to worry, that I'd send the new shipment of masks expeditiously delivered at no cost, since he was such a good customer, and please to let me know when the shipment arrived. 2 days later, he let me know it had arrived, and I read his obituary 2 days after that. They speculated it was the stress that had caused his fatal heart attack. Funny stuff. The more people die, the more fear is generated. The more fearful and paranoid people become, the greater my sales. After the guy who ordered 5 additional masks had his heart attack, several of his friends and relatives ordered masks from me. This thing had them shaking, they said, and they would feel safer with something that could provide them a little extra security, because you never know what could happen in life. And I told him I understand completely, and that I give them the exact same service I gave him. After the news reports of the woman who was shot by the police and the man who killed his family, I searched and found the advertising offices for the newspapers in those cities. I placed an ad in each one, and after that my sales in those cities took off like a rocket. Many of the customers I gained from those 3 incidents have already died, and more are on their way. The cycle continues as the process constantly replicates itself. Business is good.